Sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for this beautiful lady coming all the way from Costa Rica. Baisakhi Saha is an evolving author. She has authored an absolutely stunning book. She's an international speaker, as you'll witness in a moment, a performer, a teacher, and a world traveler. It's an absolute privilege for me to hand you over to the scintillating Baisakhi Saha.
Hello. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So without further ado, I will just get into the topic. So today's topic is human values, something that is very inside us, something that we all want to know what it is. So let's define what are values. Now, values are more like individual beliefs that motivate people to act in one way or another. And values serve as a guide for human behavior, like an internal compass that tells people what to do or what not to do, what to say or what not to say. And where do we learn our values from? Now, most of the time, we take on the values of the culture we are brought up in, the religion we are introduced to, the traditions we practice since we come into this world. And most people believe that their values are right because they grew up with those values, practicing them, believing them, and executing them. But there is a bit of conflict here because, you know, culture, tradition, religion, they change from city to city, country to country, continent to continent. So is there a value or are there any set of values that can be unified over humanity, or is it always going to be clashing and contrasting? So before I go into that answer, I want to highlight something about culture. So since we pick up our values from culture, what happens when an entire culture is dysfunctional and their society is brainwashed with unhealthy values? Now, how do people react in those cultures? I will give you a little example so you understand what I mean by this. Now, since we are here standing at the Women Economic Forum, a topic very dear to us all, women especially, is beauty, because our definition of self most often comes from the way we look. And I want to talk about Venezuela, where I lived for 2 years some time ago. And I saw that the entire culture of Venezuela is brainwashed with unhealthy parameters of beauty for young women and young girls at the age of 13, 14, 15. They get under the knife and they get plastic surgery done, they get artificial breast implants, liposuction, figure correction, feature correction. And you know, when I say that every second girl on the street goes under the knife and butchers her body, I am not exaggerating, because even low-income households prioritize plastic surgery over domestic expenses. So you can imagine that this entire society is brainwashed by a standard of beauty that comes from plastic. So what kind of values can that culture teach their children? What kind of relationships do they get into? And I'm not just talking about Venezuela, it is there in every country. So I will try to wrap up that the only way that we can actually imbibe healthy values is through knowing other cultures, because if there is a dysfunction in your culture, you just have to look into another culture and you can find approval for it. So again, people in, just 1 minute, I will wrap up. People in positions of power that are all over the world, sometimes they are committing atrocities, creating wars and destructions. It is because they have lost their connection with the larger universe. And they don't see the bigger picture of humanity, and it is in the immediate moment that they want power or over another to fill in some inside void and things like that. So, so that's why we have all these dysfunctional values coming up in our societies. And I think a great way to solve that is to travel, to meet people from different cultures, live with them, and see the struggle of humanity everywhere. And then our values, the real values, would automatically get into place. We don't have to learn it from anybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baisakhi, for your beautiful sharing.
Yes, I do.
And lucky for us, Baisakhi has a few extra copies of her book. Grab a signed copy. But yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so Life is Abracadabra is the name of my book.
Life is Abracadabra.
Yeah, so it means life is magic. So I lived all over the world, like in every continent, and I had very magical experiences, like synchronicities and signs and signals. At one point, I felt that I was having a direct communication, a two-way communication with the universe. And so many problems in my life were just solved through dreams or through signs on my path. And the book actually shows you through experience how anybody can do that. And one last thing to connect it with my speech, when you have your inner compass in the right place, your values in life will also be in the right place. So this book actually guides you how to do that. Thank you.
Beautiful, Baisakhi. Thank you so much for you. Please stay on the stage. I'd like to invite dear soul sister Swapna Ibrahim to join us on the stage, a world record holder, a singer-songwriter. What an honor to have you on the stage to present the honors to Baisakhi. Presenting to Baisakhi Saha the title of an exceptional woman of excellence at the Women Economic Forum in New Delhi 2022.